Luther Burden is being way too disrespected right now, and he should actually be the first wide receiver selected in the 2025 NFL Draft. Here's why. Feels like Missouri's Luther Burden hasn't been getting the respect that he deserves in this receiver class. It's been all Tetairoa McMillan and not enough Luther Burden. Is he wide receiver one at the very top of what we're projecting and talking about here? And is he worthy of a first round pick?
He's wide receiver one for me in this class because I think that he's a player, Joe, that creates separation in multiple ways. And I think you have a lot of players like Tetairoa McMillan, for instance, that separate really well in one capacity, but you don't have a bunch of guys that do it in various ways. Like I look at a Luther Burden, although his production was down, I think that a lot of that was due to him being banged up a little bit, Brady Cook not being an overly good passer, and then also the offense kind of being stagnated a lot this year. And I look at him though, and I say, that kid can create separation as an athlete. That kid can create separation of his quickness in and out of breaks. And he's also a young man that also can affect the space game, right? Screen game, RPO, short crosses, like just get the football in his hands and let him evaluate space. You can even give him some jets. You can give him some ends arounds. Like this is the type of player that you just figure out how to get the ball in his hands and he'll make good things happen.
He feels at the very least he needs to be a first round pick. This receiver class it's really not good. We're lacking the typical talent that we see on day two. There's not a lot of options to turn to. A team needing a really explosive yards after catch player to be their second wide receiver or a third guy that thrives in the slot. That is where Luther Burden is going to be set up to succeed the most. If there's the expectation that a team that doesn't have any receivers and that like, we got to take him, this is wide receiver one, he's going to fix all of our problems, you're not going to get that with Luther Burden. His production this year wasn't great for the answers that you just brought up here, but are there weaknesses that we should be concerned about when we're talking about him as a prospect?
I think he can be snappier in and out of breaks. I think one thing that we've seen is that he's such a good athlete. I think he's a little bit lackadaisical as a route runner, for the lack of a better word, right? Like I think that he can just be a little bit more sharp and aggressive, getting in and out of those breaks to create easier separation. And then also, Joe, I think that just overall, it's about the nuance of playing the position, right? Like let's hit blind spots a little bit easier. Let's understand how to manipulate defensive backs when their backs are turned. Like those little things I think could go a long way because we're talking about a great athlete, right? We're talking about a guy that once he gets the football in his hands and once he has a one-on-one opportunity, he can make a lot of big plays and he can even win at the catch point at times. But I think that we just really need a maturation, get him with a good wide receiver coach, get him with a good offensive coordinator that can really round out his game. If that nuance comes and understanding of sharper route breaks and how to manipulate zone comes, I think we're talking about a perennial 1,000-yard receiver potentially in the right spot.
And I think with all that in mind too, if you have a circumstance where he's freed up because attention is pushed elsewhere, where he gets to be the second option because there's a lot of focus on whoever the primary receiver might be. Easy example, Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know if that's like a direct right strong fit, but everybody's focused on Jamar Chase every single snap. They're worried about what he's going to do. So that can allow a guy like Luther Burden to win after the catch, to take a drag route and make people miss, to pick up extra yards. He can take a screen and rush up field and work his way past defensive backs to pick up even extra yardage. He needs to be in a strong situation in order to succeed. Now, I think his comparison, I like him as Debo. I think that Debo Samuel is always the easy one that we can make for these guys that are yak monsters. And then we did this every single cycle that, who's the next Debo Samuel? We've done it every single year.
Hopefully it's better than Malachi Corley this cycle, like last year for some people. But
none of those guys seemingly have worked that we've compared him to Debo Samuel. You have a better comparison that I like equally, that you think that this is the next Golden Tate in the NFL.
Yeah, because I don't think that you can win strictly off of just being a yak guy, right? Like there has to be other parts of your game because otherwise you are just a niche football player. But I think when you talked about Golden Tate in his best years, I know he had a couple okay seasons with Seattle, but when he got to the Detroit Lions, this was that prototype slot receiver who was incredibly dense, who worked after the catch, broke a ton of tackles. It was all about second effort yardage and explosives after the football was in his hands. But the thing that we underrated about Golden Tate was also really physical at the catch point for his size. Like, he was never going to be stellar there because he was only about 5'10", 200 pounds like Luther Burden is. Burden's probably 5'11", 5'10", 205 pounds, somewhere in that ballpark. But he can do it in spurts. He can win a contested catch against a similar size nickelback, and then the jets, the explosiveness, the short area stuff, and then the tackle breaking ability ultimately, right? So this is the modern slot receiver. Get the football in his hands, break some tackles, create extra yardage like a Golden Tate, but also a little bit tougher in the air than you would anticipate as well.
It kind of makes you wonder, was Golden Tate, was he put into the NFL too soon? What could have Golden Tate had been if he was in this late 20 or mid 2020s? God, that feels disturbing to say, mid 2020s of the NFL, where, yeah, having playmakers, allowing them to just get the rock and see what they can do with it. A lot of these offenses are set up to find success with these types of prospects, and Luther Burden could be that next Golden Tate. Folks, let us know below in the comments, what team do you want to see draft Luther Burden? Hit the like button and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.